When I was younger, I remember watching Disney movies and dreaming of the day my Prince Charming would come and rescue me too. I didn't grow up with the best model of a happy marriage and would watch these movies or read books that would focus on the same plot and disassociate into my fantasy throughout the day. It was pretty much ingrained in me from all angles that the end game was to meet a man, get saved, get married, have his babies, and give my life over to serving all of them. So that is what I aim for, the ultimate goal, the bullseye. As I grew into my teens and later into my 20s, I searched and searched, wondering if each guy I met was in fact my Prince Charming. Unfortunately, this level of desperation attracts a certain caliber of partner, and for many, many years I ended up dating the same man over and over again, just with a different face. When I was 30, an old interest came back riding into my life on his big white horse disguised as a Facebook message full of adoring accolades and sappy apologies for treating me so poorly when we were first hanging out. And boy, did I fall for it. Soon after we rekindled our whatever you call it, similar patterns started resurfacing, except this time I chose to overlook it because, well, I was already 30 after all and was the last of all my friends who was still single. And darn it, I wanted kids. This, coupled with the added pressure of my medical history and a looming hysterectomy hanging over my head, I chose to look the other way, which inevitably led to a marriage and 2 years later a divorce due to yet another infidelity. You think I would have learned from this, but it took me another 8 years of dating and a few more heartbreaks to learn the most valuable lesson I think I've ever learned. It's okay to be alone. This video was inspired by a few recent comments I received on my last video. Well, two really. This one here, and then this one. And I would really love to speak openly about both. Hello. So today we are going to have a little sit down chat about one of my absolute favorite topics. As you heard, it is inspired by two separate comments that I got on my last video. One of them I really appreciated, and the other one kind of bothered me, and that's why I'm bringing it up. I think that sometimes we come to the table with what we know. We can't do better until we know better. That's what's inspiring this video. So sit back, grab some tea. This is my adorable little anthropology mug I got for Christmas. It has llamas on there because I used to have a pet llama. So, and I love llamas. First and foremost, it took me so long and a lot of very deep and introspective work on myself to get to the place that I'm at now. I had to ask some really big and really honest questions with myself and be radically honest. That was really hard and scary because, to be honest, I had no clue where I was operating from. It was so deeply ingrained in me. I had to understand why I felt the way I felt. Here comes beep. Okay, I honestly thought I was going about life the way I was supposed to be going about life. Also, we are having quite a windstorm the last 24 hours, so there might be a little bit of extra background noise. Can't do anything about it. So some point during the pandemic and my final burn in the dating world, I realized I needed a little break. I needed to step back and get more clarity around what it was I even wanted. I no longer could have biological children, so I could no longer have biological children, and although I was always very open to adoption, I started realizing that I didn't even know if I wanted kids to begin with, or if this was just something that was so deeply conditioned within me to want. And to be honest, if I was gonna have them, I wanted to start much younger and be well through the younger ages by the time I was 40, and be well through the younger ages by the time I was 40. And I know we don't all get to decide when we have children, but that is something that I knew I wanted for myself. And then about 3 years ago, I started watching my niece. In doing so, I learned some really, really big things about myself. I deeply, deeply cherished and still do cherish this time, not only this niece, but my other nieces as well. I found myself at the end of the day when I was driving home being really excited to go home and to crawl into bed and watch whatever I wanted to watch and kind of be released of my duties. That's not to say that the next day I didn't wake up and miss my niece and I could spend every day with them, but I really, really love and value my time at the end of the day. And I was just so surprised at how okay and how happy I was about this. So with all that being said, my priorities with partnership have definitely changed in the last few years. And one of the things that I've realized that one of the things that I have recognized that I really want is more so companionship. And to be honest, I'm still trying to figure out what this means to me. I really, really love my life and I love my time and I love my little rituals and my little habits. When you accept somebody into your life, you have to compromise a lot. And so I'm trying to figure out what that looks like for me so that I'm very clear if and when that day does come where somebody comes into my life. I did dating apps for years. I think I started with Match.com way in my 20s. I tend to be a little bit, definitely more so then. I was way more introverted than I am now. For me back then, it was just an easier outlet than going out all the time. I would definitely go out in my 20s, but it wasn't necessarily what I loved to do. So I started with Match.com and then I met some guys in real life. I mean, when I started on Match.com, it was still very like hush hush. You didn't want anybody to know that you were doing online dating. And then it became more mainstream and that's kind of how you're expected to meet people now. I will be honest, I think dating apps have created such a disservice to the dating world. And I can honestly say, I don't think I will ever get back on one. I think that they are incredibly toxic. I think that they create an environment where we are constantly wondering if the next swipe is even better than the one we just connected with. Or we could have 10 things that we think we want in somebody and we can meet somebody on a dating app. Even in real life, I suppose, they can have 8 of those 10 qualities and we will be wondering if the next swipe possesses maybe 9 of those qualities and then so forth. And so I think it's set us up for failure. I will say that one of the benefits is it's created a larger reach, so we have more access to people, which is also a detriment to it as well. Before social media, we dated in a very closed circle, meaning we met people through work or through friends or some kind of social outing. And now we can meet somebody that's across the country or across the world. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever had a really great experience on dating apps. I know that a lot of people say that they're a numbers game, but the amount of time you have to put into being on these dating apps and then going on all of these dates, for a lot of people it's a full-time job, and that's fine if that is where you're at in your life and your goals are meeting somebody and having kids and whatnot. But for me, that's not what my goal is. My goal is to meet somebody and have a companionship and a partnership, and it looks and feels very different in my 40s and not being able to have kids, which I'm still exploring and I'm still trying to figure out what that means to me. I'd say the biggest difference for me now is that I don't have any sense of desperation. For so long, for my teens and my 20s and my 30s, I felt like I had to meet somebody to save me from myself and save me from the life that I was living and to take care of me. And even, you know, prior to finding out that I couldn't have biological kids, I just wanted to meet somebody to have babies with. And so that dynamic has really changed, and it's removed that sense of urgency and that feeling of desperation behind meeting somebody, which is wonderful because it takes a lot of pressure off of my life. So now I feel like I'm more willing to fill my own cup and be in my own life and just really enjoy where I'm at, because it isn't as huge of a priority for me anymore. Okay, so the second comment that I shared bothered me, and I was thinking more about why it did bother me. And this person wrote something to the extent of, "You are still young, you should be out having fun." And I thought that that was very presumptuous, because I choose to stay home on New Year's Eve and do my little ritual and go to bed early and not drink, because for me it feels really, really wonderful to wake up on New Year's Day just clear-headed, and it's special for me to wake up on a brand new year. It just feels like a clean slate that way. If I'm quite honest, I could have gone and done a million different things on New Year's Eve, but I chose to be home by myself because I wanted to be in my own company, and I wanted to do the things that bring me joy. And to me, that was fun, and I was really happy to do that. It also felt like this person assumed that I wasn't having any fun because I was alone. But to be honest, I love my own company, and I think we all should aspire to love our own company and love who we are and be our own best friends. I have gone out, I have drank, I have forced myself to stay up past midnight, and then honestly I'm miserable the next day. And to be 100% honest, that's not what I value anymore. I don't live my life like that. I love being home. I've created a very intentional space here, and I don't ever feel like I need to escape it or escape my life. I've gotten lots of clarity over the years that I don't like staying up late. I like going to bed really early. And the people in my life know that about me, and they respect it, and we plan around that. So it was honestly the perfect New Year's in my eyes. Women and men, or whatever you identify as, can be very happy being alone. Those of us who are single and without children can have extremely fulfilling lives. And having children and being married is not the be-all end-all for so many people these days. Times have changed. And in my opinion, the be-all end-all is developing a beautiful relationship with yourself, loving your own company, and figuring out what makes you tick and what makes you happy and what your passions are, and being so caught up in that you are no longer waiting for when that person comes into your life. And if and when that person does come into your life, it's such an amazing added bonus and not the thing that is fulfilling your life and making you happy. If you are in a position right now where you are alone and you find yourself desperately wanting to be in a partnership and struggling with that, here are 2 questions that you can ask yourself. First of all, why do you want a relationship? And I don't mean just like because I want to have kids and because I want somebody to do something with. Like, really dig deep and understand what part of you wants to be in a relationship and why. Get a lot of clarity around that. And then what I think is the most important question is, why are you uncomfortable being alone? What stories are you telling yourself? What does it mean to you when you are alone? For a long time for me, being single meant that I was a loser, or that I was ugly and couldn't get a partner, and I was undesirable and I wasn't interesting, and none of that is true. And so just get really clear. Spend some time thinking about these. I would love to continue talking about this topic. I think it's so interesting being in my 40s and being single and not having kids and seeing the world from this lens. I think it gives me such a different perspective on life. Sorry, I'm having a hot flash, so I'm getting really, really red. That's the other thing. I don't want to have to share a bed with somebody when I get hot flashes all the time. Anyways, as always, I would love to hear from you in the comments. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and make sure to like this, because that's how YouTube knows to push this video out to more people. It helps my channel grow. So as always, I really appreciate you, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.